Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Welcome back to the Daily Truth Report. I'm your host, Noah, and back with us today from possibly the most beautiful location I've seen in a while is our good friend, Bo Polney. Bo, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Noah. Thanks for having me. And what a pleasure to be here. We are in exciting times based on the prophet Kim Clement. We are in strange July. So we will see what happens this month, hopefully.
Yes. And we had to have you back on. We're recording this right in the middle of July. We've already had a lot of stuff happen, and I would say we're living in unprecedented times. It doesn't feel like any other time I've lived in, but we had to have you back on, do an update of what we've seen so far, and then what is still coming, because we've seen a lot, but some of the even bigger stuff is still yet to come. So we had to have you back on. For those who don't know, I'll do a quick introduction. Bo Polney is a analyst of time. He unlike almost anybody else out there, Bo looks at the cycles of life, the cycles of the stock market, the cycles of gold and silver, the cycles of our world and current events and cryptocurrencies, and he puts all those cycles together, and he looks at the patterns of life, and he looks at those, and he can't always tell you what's coming, but he can tell you that there's a big time point coming up. And the Bible talks about that too. It says there's a season for everything. There's a time for everything. God put the sun, moon, and stars up there to go in cycles, and so it's a very familiar biblical concept. And so we love talking with Bo. So in case, I know we get new people watching this every time. So if you haven't seen Bo yet, that's where he's coming from, and it is absolutely fascinating. So I think you're going to really enjoy this. Bo, I'm going to put a screen share on here so we can look at your latest slides, because they are really something. If you haven't seen Bo's slides before, you're going to want to download these. We'll put a download link right below this video, wherever you're watching this. And there's also, I'm going to put on the screen right now, a QR code. You just take your phone. You don't have to have a special app. You just get your camera app out, point your camera at this QR code right here, and it'll take you to a download page to get these slides. Everything in here is 100% free. Bo puts these slides together he puts a lot of time in this, and he does these interviews for free, and then he puts these slides out for free. So grab that. And as always, we're so appreciative of your time, Bo. So thanks for being here. And I want to open it up to you now. Please, I'm going to put us on slide 1, and I'm going to let you kind of take it away. Tell us where we're going today.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like these historic days that we've been waiting for. We're watching these evil people run the world, do these crazy things, trying to control humanity. At the same time, too, all we're seeing is evil, evil, evil. And we are waiting for that moment in time where God does something that's just beyond incredible. And so, that this moment in time is, God has spoken to several or many prophets saying it will be one of the greatest moves of his spirit in the history of the world. I'm going to repeat that. What's coming is one of the greatest moves of God's spirit in the history of this world. We are going to see his glory on this earth. The glory is going to be a double-edged sword, because when the glory appears, those who have sown good seeds are going to see immense blessings. Those who have sown evil seeds and what they've tried to do to humanity are going to see that play upon them, and they will reap what they have sown, as stated in the Bible. I believe that's in Galatians. So we're stepping right now. We're not stepping, we are actually in. We are in right now this historic moment in time. No one knows the precise day this is going to go down, but the Bible talks about, there's a verse in the Bible, a line in the Bible that actually talks to potentially that we could see something going down this month, believe it or not, here in the month of July. We're going to talk about that in the interview as well, too. We'll give you the day that the Bible talks about. And so we're waiting for that moment in time where everything in this world is about to change. We are in the 50-year Jubilee cycle. So in the Bible, there's talks about what's called in the verse Leviticus, and Leviticus talks about the 50-year Jubilee, and thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. So if you go to page 2, basically what we're, there's a window of time that we're looking at right there, a time point. The world's never going to forget, and that started on May 14th, and it takes us into now in July, and it's going to proceed, and then the last day of the 50th year is September 24th. That's Elul in the Bible. It's Elul 29. That is the last day before the next day, which is the 25th, and that's the start of the 51st year, or Rosh Hashanah, and that's God's calendar. Again, it's not the Hebrew calendar; it's the calendar given to the Jews by God. So it's God's calendar. So we're stepping into an incredibly powerful time point. Page 4
Hey,
talks.
Bogus,
Yep.
before we
Go
get
ahead.
to that, so you said this 50-year Jubilee cycle. This isn't something you came up with, or this isn't something people today came up with. This is a biblical concept, and God says you need to pay attention to this 50th year and honor it. And there's certain things you're supposed to do. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly correct, right? Like it talked Leviticus, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. So, God wrote that. That's a prophetic word. And so it's a very powerful time point in the Bible. God does the math. The math of God is, there's seven's a very powerful number. 7 cycles of 7 is 49, and then you head into the 50th year, and we are in the 50th year. That is why, and we'll talk about that too, that's why precisely we just saw the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Okay, that is a 50th year Jubilee event. And that is one of 3 events we're going to talk about in this presentation. So many things are afoot. Many things are at the door. We are right here, right now, of things that are about to progress and start upon this world, because we've waited all the way into May, into June, and now that June 21 is passed, we're at the past 40 weeks already. So 40 weeks would be the point of birth. We're looking for the birth of a new era that started potential with the Roe v. Wade being overturned, but we're just waiting for that Isaiah 61 moment. Those who watch my prior videos, we start the video off with reading Isaiah 61. I'm going to read it again because this is so powerful. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that the captives will be released and the prisoners will be freed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And there's a comma right there. Jesus Christ, reading this in the temple, stopped on a comma. Secondly, and so he didn't read the next line. And secondly, the year of the Lord's favor is Leviticus. Thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. We are here. We are at the moment in time where something is about to just go crazy, because the glory is about to appear upon this earth. Kent Christmas, in the next page, talks specifically about a 24-hour window. I've had this on my PDF deck, and this is he talked about this last year. But on Isaiah 61, remember, and then the next line that was not read, and the day of vengeance of our God. Well, what's a day? It's 24 hours. Okay, so they will be blindsided. What's about to happen? Page 6, we presently, we're seeing the mask thing starting to go away. We're on the road to demask us. Okay, it's a play on words, but nothing's random in the Bible. It's whatever the reason was. That city was called Damascus, and so that 24-hour window is that moment in time where Saul meets Jesus. And suddenly a light from heaven shone upon him, and falling to the ground, he heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he said, who are you, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus, who you persecute. And in an instant, Saul became Paul. He lost his vision. He couldn't see for 3 days, so expect everything to go dark. Okay, this is how it's going to play out when this event goes down, when the glory arrives. Everything's going to go dark, just like what happened to Saul as he became Paul. 3 days later, he got his vision back. So and then you read there's other stories, where was it forget the gentleman's name, passed away, and he was in the tomb for
Oh,
4 days.
Lazarus.
Lazarus, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm on
Yes.
vacation. I couldn't remember the name. So Lazarus in the tomb for 4 days, and what happened, right? Jesus took his time to get there because he wanted the world to see the glory of God. So we are at this moment in time where everything's about to go dark. It's going to look horrible for some, but it's just going to be this massive point of shift. And then everything, when the lights come back on, everything changes. And there's stories upon stories of that in the Bible. You go to page 7 and 8, we talk about all these different kings that have existed, on this earth, page 7 and 8. If all of these things that we talk about are true, if these are prophetic, then no man can stop what's coming. So they might try to do all these things, but they can't stop what God has ordained. And so, you look at the page 9, see the statue, right? This is a statue that's been around we've talked about this over and over again, but this is just a perfect example of examples of how everything in the Bible, when God intervenes, takes a day. The next page 10 shows you, that statue, all these kingdoms, how they've existed, and page 11 shows that they're still here. The Statue of Liberty represents, the Babylon still standing. But again, it's not only the United States. The entire Babylonian system is a worldwide system of control of humanity. Okay. And so, on page 12, you'll see stories of, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego get thrown in the fire, and then they don't, rather than dying, Jesus Christ shows up and they walk out of the fire. All this happens in an instant. Okay. So the point is, when God intervenes, nothing takes more than a few minutes, a day. Page 13 is kind of a point of time where we're at right now, because Belshazzar desecrated all the gold items they received from the temple. So he's partying with them, drinking out the chalices and drinking out of them. And he sees writing on the wall. A hand appears and writes, Mene, Mene, Tekel Upharsin. And this is a moment in time where he didn't understand what that meant. So Daniel came up and interpreted the writing, and I've talked about this as well in the past too with you. But this is the writing on the wall moment, and the writing on the wall moment specifically, it was talking about the scales of balance. You've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Your kingdom has come to an end and will be given to the Medes and the Persians. So this is a moment in time that we are about to experience, because that night he lost everything, including his life. So this is a point in time where we are stepping into. We are so close to this happening. Another story of Daniel, he's thrown in the lions. Then, we know that story as well too. And the lions wouldn't touch him because he was protected. We've got 45. He's on the 70-year cycle. So it's everything is biblical that's going on in our world. So we've had, in 1948, it was 70 years to the precise day that actually Israel was that Jerusalem. Well, first Israel's proclaimed a state, and then Trump moves it to Jerusalem exactly 70 years to the day. It's interesting that 70 years. There's an important time point coming up here in September, because on September 10th of 1952, the German-Israel reparation agreement was signed. So that would be 70 years this September. So something's about to go down here. A massive historical shift is upon us. And then, so Trump is going to be playing into all of this and how this all plays out, and we're going to watch this all unfold. And then on page 17, we've talked about the year of Jubilee. We are here. This is it. There's like less than 3 months before this year ends, and we've got some very powerful time points coming up here. On page 18, we had the overturning of Roe v. Wade. We've talked about that. That was December 13th of 71. It was first argued in the Supreme Court, And 50 years later is right here, right now. We're in Leviticus. And this is the crazy part. Haggai the prophet prophesied about the importance of the 6th month, the 24th day, and the 2nd day of the year. So Haggai actually foretold 2,500 years ago the importance of that date. And lo and behold, guess what happened? Roe v. Wade was overturned on that date. So we are
That was the
here.
exact day.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy part, right? So how does that happen, right? Just that Haggai wrote or prophesied about a critically important date, and then lo and behold, on that date, Roe v. Wade is overturned. So, we are living in biblical times. These are these examples of the footprint of God. Everything he touches, you'll see the perfection in the numbers, and that's what we're seeing as all of this is unfolding. The next page takes us into the birth of the new era. Again, somewhere between now into the 24th, we're going to see the glory manifest. But right now, we're seeing the harlot that's talked about in Revelation 17 and 18. She's going to be destroyed, but right now she's at full strength, and she's controlling everything through the church, the family, the education, government, entertainment, media, and basically it's all done through the money system. That's how it's all been put together. They have been able to control humanity because of all the money that they've created, to infinite amounts of it to buy and pay off everybody, and that's what we've seen going on. And that relates again back to 71 on page 21 in Nixon. He detached he severed the link between gold and the dollar, and thus you have infinite money printing, and we've seen that happen right now. It's the next. This is the important one here. So, Kim Clement spoke of the words "strange July, strange July." It's interesting that when you put pieces together, and that's kind of what I do, that when Haggai foretold of the importance of June 24th. Well, then what else did Haggai talk about? What other dates did he reference? Well, it's fascinating, right. But Haggai actually wrote in Haggai 2, verses 1 through 7, he goes, and these are the words. In the 7th month, on the 21st day of the month, the word of the Lord came by the hand of Haggai the prophet, and all the remnant of the people, be strong, for I am with you, declares the Lord of hosts, according to the covenant I made with you. Now, doesn't that resonate, Noah?
Absolutely, yes.
With the covenant that we, the United States, have with God? Like, what are the coincidences that word would be in the Haggai 2? There are no coincidences in the Bible. This is by design. And so again, I'm going to read, according to the covenant that I made with you, right? God made a covenant with who? The founding fathers. And what was the covenant, right? It's the same with God chose Israel, we chose God. It's a brother-sister relationship, but we have a covenant with God which stands the test of time. So they may want to steal the United States to grab the world, because then they can grab Israel and ultimately grab the world, but they have a problem. The problem is God's got a covenant with the founding fathers. They may be gone, but the covenant stands, because what did God say in Haggai? According to the covenant I made with you. See, so we still have a covenant with God. This is great. My spirit remains in the midst. Come on. Fear not, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet once more I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land, and I will shake all nations, so that the treasures of all nations shall come in, and I will fill this house with glory. You gotta now, and now, like, let's put pieces together, okay? And yet once more I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land. I will shake all nations. Noah, take the pieces of the prophets, okay? What did Kim Clement say? What does summer bring? The 2 E's, earthquakes and eruptions.
Yes, right.
Well, when is July? In the summer.
In summer, right?
So Haggai, the prophet, and Kim Clement are in complete agreement. The word of God match.
So what's next on the calendar then, Bo? What are we looking for?
Well, I don't. So that's the thing. See, I don't know if anything happens on the 21st. I'm just telling you that Kim Clement prophesied of the two E's. I'm telling you the Haggai, the prophet Haggai talked about July 21, the seventh month, 21st day. So, and like that's next week. I don't know what's coming, if anything, but I'm fascinated and I'm watching with all every I'm super paying attention because I know we're at the birth of a new era. We're beyond 40 weeks. We're at a moment in time, page 23, where we're going to see the overturning of the money tables. It's like Jesus Christ walking in the temple, flipping everything off and over on these money changers, because that's what it is. These money changers control the world. They are the ones that they be able to buy and pay off everybody because they have the money. They are the money changers of old. No difference. Same spirits, different people today. But the same nasty people that were in the temple when Jesus Christ walked in there and he just flipped the tables on these people. Absolutely no different. Next,
Yeah,
and
you're right. Look at your red box there, Bo. That's exactly right. Big pharma, the Federal Reserve. That's the biggest scam we've had on our country ever. That's been going on since 1913. The banking cartel, the fiat money system, government agencies, politicians, fake news media, social media, Twitter and Facebook. We've been hearing how much of Twitter is even real. Are they all bots? We're finding that out right now. How many fake accounts are just pushing out the same story to make you think everybody thinks the same? So that's a good box there, Bo. That's exactly right.
well, and if you all the points you just read on that in that red box, right? When 45 was in, what was he doing? He went against every one of those, right? So why do you think they hated him, right? Because he went against media, he went against the social media, he went against Twitter, he went against Facebook, he went against China, he went against a drug card. Like he went against every one of them. So why wouldn't they hate him? Because he wasn't in their club. He went against everything that they had basically put together over all these generations, and he was destroying what they had put together. And 45 coming in, prophetically, he wasn't supposed to be there according to their plans. God destroyed their plans, and that's why Hillary freaked out after the election, because she knew she was to be the winner because they had it all planned. But God had a bigger plan. You see, evil might have a plan, but God had a bigger plan. Okay, you have to understand that, right? So as big as their plans are, God's God thinks above them. So he had a bigger plan, and therefore 45 came in because was God had a plan with Trump to come in because the world's going to end up seeing he's appointed by God, because when the world crashes, Trump's going to come in to repair the damages and fix what God takes down. But the point is, everything evil brings up and thinks that they are so powerful, so wise, so mighty, right? God thoughts are higher. And I'm telling you, this has always been the case historically. And every time evil comes in, their thoughts are high and God's are higher, and thus they fall. And so we're going to see historic events go down this year. The next slide talks about, this crazy guy, Schwab, and he starts a World Economic Forum, and then he had all these people that were in their 20s and 30s at the time, and so now everybody's mature, and they're basically at this key time point of 50 years, and we're seeing all these things from all these billionaires, Soros and Gates, and all these people who are positioned. And how do they do it? Because they had unlimited money supply, because they has no attachment to gold. So they are basically now running the world via the money system. So it's interesting how this is all playing out, because there's another verse in Haggai 2 verses 18 through 19. And this is really like when you read this, and then the words the choice of words, like last time we talked about covenant, right? And the first of Haggai actually talks about, and they worked, and the working was basically of what the Supreme Court justices were doing to overturn. And now this Haggai is talking about a defiled people and a blessing for them. Like, it's just incredible that the Haggai verses of 2,500 years ago rhyme beautifully with current events. Like, that's the essence of, you have to read Haggai and then look at current events, and you realize, oh my goodness, like they are perfectly worded for the events of present day. So let's read Haggai 2. Blessings for a defiled people. Okay, so why would we be called a defiled people? Well, what did we do for 50 years? We allowed abortion. We allowed the killing of what is, I think it's over 60 million fetuses. Okay. So I think that would be a very easy to call that a defiled people.
Right. Right.
Okay. But what is God? He is two things. He's many things, but he's two
Hmm.
primarily. He's love and he's judge.
Right.
But remember, so because he's love, he loves us. So we may have defiled him. We may have gone against, the creator. But he, now that we've overturned Roe v. Wade, he is with us. And if God is with us, who could be against us?
It's almost
And
like that. It's like that point in the movie, Bo. When you're coming up on the end, you can just feel everything turning and coming together, isn't it? And it's like, okay, here we go. They struggled the whole time along, and then boom, here comes the victory.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just like a sudden thing that's coming. So let's read it because it's blessings for defiled people. Well, we went against God. We were defiled people, but God loves us. So what's he going to do? What's he going to do to his people because he loves us? We've overturned Roe v. Wade. We've shown favor now. So God's going to show favor to us because we overturned it. He's going to now give us what? Blessings. Okay. So on the 24th day of the ninth month, in the second year of Darius, the word of the Lord came by Haggai the prophet. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider from this day onward, from the 24th day of the ninth month. Now, pay attention here. The vine, the fig tree, the pomegranate, and the olive tree have yielded nothing,
Hmm.
but from this day forward, I will bless you.
Wow, I like the sound of that, Bo.
So then Matthew talks about blessings, right? Blessings are 30, 60, and 100 fold, right? And so what does that really mean? It means that we're going to see blessings, and that's going to directly also, many blessings, but one of the blessings will tie in with the financial system of one of the greatest the greatest financial event in human history, where the Proverbs talk about, Proverbs 13:24, I think is the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. And if you look at Matthew, 30-fold blessings, so you take the price of silver at $20, multiply that by 30, Noah, what do you get? 600.
600, right?
There you
Yeah.
go. Okay. So that is the first price target for silver
Hmm.
based on Matthew of blessings. And then there's also 60, there's 100-fold. So there's just
Hmm.
blessings are coming like we've never imagined before. And we are at this point in time, which is going to be just, historic, or the best word, biblical, because that's what it is. God's involved, so biblical is coming. Page 26, this is when I was with Clay Clark at the last tour. The crowd loved this one, but basically we talk about baseball, 3 strikes and they are out of the United States. And soon enough, much of the world, they're going to go into hiding. They're going to flee because of what they've done to the world. So they're going to go into hiding, and many, the ones that remain, will go into hiding, the evil ones, and everyone else will be destroyed. So we're going
Yeah.
to see the angel of death come upon these people this year. Go ahead.
And this slide is really the reason we wanted to have you on today, because we are in this middle point. You got the check mark on the first one. You've been telling us for a long time there's 3 big things coming. And when we had you on last time, we kind of had this victory episode where we talked about the first domino has fallen. And so when people were saying nothing's happening, the first domino did fall, and that was just recently, back in June 24th. And so we're in this middle point. We saw the first one, and now we're looking ahead, and there's not much time left. You've got some pretty short windows on these last 2, and we've got the 50th year of Jubilee ending in a couple months. And so that's why we really wanted to have you on. We wanted to look back at the things that have already happened, and we wanted to look forward at the next 2 big ones. And the middle one you have there, the fall of the US dollar crash, that is something that a year ago people would have said you're crazy to even talk about that. I mean, that was just conspiracy theory, and that's way too far out there. But now I hear it being talked about everywhere, mainstream sources. And you look at what's happening in Russia and with other countries, and the euro is now on par with the dollar, and all of this stuff that is, we never thought we'd see it. So I I want to let you comment a little more on that, Bo, but I just wanted to say this to me, this is the big slide right here that we can't wait to see these next two events happen.
Well, earlier we talked about the statue of Daniel, right? The statue of Daniel basically represents Babylon. And so presently, the Babylonian system is ruled, controlled. In essence, that statue that would be compared to also, with the story of David and Goliath, right? So that statue is Goliath. The money system is Goliath. It's Babylon in essence, because they've been able to control and manipulate everything with the money system. And so the money system is not related to God in even one bit, because Haggai states the silver. Haggai 2 verse 8 states the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. So when you detach it, the money system that we currently use has zero correlation to God's money. Therefore, if it's not God's money, whose is it? Satan's. It's satanic. It says on the dollar bill, in God we trust. In their God they trust. Okay, that's not our God. That's on that dollar bill. And so, and even like the new coin that came out, right? On the people are talking about it, how before it says in God we trust, and the face was facing that. Now it faces away from that. So the new coins they made. So the point is, everything's changing, but the money system is the control of humanity. And correct me if I'm wrong, but think about that for a second, right? The control of humanity in the time of Pharaoh and Israel, they had chains. Right now, they don't have chains. What are they doing with humanity, right? They put you in mortgages, which is by definition a death grip, which is basically backed by what? Bonds. Mortgages are bonds, right? So they're death grips, bondage.
Okay. How's that for some terms?
Yeah, there's no randomness to words, right? And then you've got student loans, credit cards, and so when a credit card is created, that's another bond that's created, right? So all of these events, we've been enslaved. So the financial system, it will never go down. The financial system will never go down. Nothing will ever change. These people are in complete control for the same reason Satan stated to Jesus in the wilderness, bow down to me and I'll make you a king on this earth. You see, so we're at a point in time where nothing will ever change, because Satan, evil, was led on this earth by Adam and Eve. And so he has dominion here. He has the authority. He actually had the authority to offer that to Jesus, right? And so we're at a point in time where these people have all bowed down, all these bloodlines have bowed down to that. Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan." But these people did not. They bowed down. So we're in a point of time now where Satan's offered it. They've accepted. They're controlling humanity because Satan allowed that. He built these people up to billionaires and trillionaires. And we're a moment in time where we need God more than ever, because we're like at the Red Sea. And I'm just telling you, when Israel's at the Red Sea, like, you got to put yourself there for a minute. Mountains to the left and right, Pharaoh's coming at you, Red Sea behind you, you're done. You're done. Okay,
right.
That's where humanity's at right now. So and what did Kim Clement say? This is beautiful, right? And actually, if you go, I think, was it Kim Clement or who stated that? It might be page 20. Oh yeah, so let's go to page 28, because this lines up exactly what we're talking about here. So, a veil has been placed upon this nation, and I did it for a season, for my people would wonder. See, Israel, pinned up against the Red Sea, were in that same season, and they were wondering, what do we do? We're finished. We're dead. They're wondering, what do we do? And faith would increase because they knew they were dead. So if Israel gets on their knees and they're praying, God help us. And what did God say? And then Kim Clement finishes, for in darkness, faith grows. And what are we seeing happen across the world right now? We've seen the darkness, and God's church is rising. And that's what we're seeing right now. So in darkness, faith grows. We're at this moment in time where when God intervenes, when his glory arrives. Okay, we're not seeing the return of Christ just yet. We're not in the return. We're setting the stage for it. And when the glory appears, this is going to be the third seal event of Revelation, the fall of the financial system, the greatest financial event in human history. So Kim Clement prophesied about Strange July. We're here. He talked about Hypnotic November. Many points he talked about. They're there on page 27. The viewers can read it. Page 28. But the key takeaway from that video, you click the link and listen to it. But now my fury has ended. Well, why has the fury ended? Because we've overturned Roe v. Wade. And now God is with us. You see how this is playing out? And so now we're getting into some very important time because we're in July. We're heading into the falls. As summer ends, we're heading into the fall. And Kim Clement stated they fall in fall. And then my presentation takes many of the prophets and puts it together. I lay over timelines and all of this. Okay, so it's a very powerful presentation because it's just not my opinion. It's the prophetic word of others. It's scriptural. I'm taking scripture. I'm putting all the pieces together for the world to witness God's movements and his plan. And so what is Revelation? The presentation is a revealing of some of what I've discovered in Revelation. And so we've got Kent Christmas just recently talking about the angel of death about to appear on these people. Go ahead.
Just it's what you just said, Bo. It's amazing how all of those things fit together so perfectly too. I mean, they all are coming together and telling one story.
You're right. Exactly. That is the essence of this. When you take, the Bible is very clear about test the prophets, right? I'm not a prophet. I get prophetic things sometimes, right? We're all prophets to a degree. Like we all get prophetic things to a degree. I mean, if we pray, if you listen, you'll hear God talks to us. Okay, but God has anointed me or given me the ability to really take enormous amounts of pieces, put them together, and thus I've been able to put all of this together for the viewers, and it's really powerful because where is that in the Bible? It base talks about the truth is in two or more witnesses.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right.
Establish a matter with two or more witnesses.
Correct. Thank you. So that's the essence. So if you hear a prophet speak, and there's one out there talking about Christ returns in 200-300 years from now. Okay, there's not one prophet that matches that will witness those words. Okay, that's the problem, right? So, but there's many prophets, like Kent Christmas. Lois Vogel Sharp, Robin Bullock, all talk about how there's not much time left. Like we're talking, maybe 10, maybe 20 years, whatever. We're not, that's the essence of this. We're not talking hundreds of years out, okay? And so the point being is that these prophets, their words are being repeated by other prophets. And so when you put the pieces together, there's witness upon witness upon the witness of the truth. And that's what is happening here. And so, and then when you look at Revelation, it talks about the third seal. What is the third seal? It's a black horse. And the rider's holding what? Scales. Well, what we just talked about in Daniel, what happened with the scales and Belshazzar? The writing on the wall, wasn't it, right? That night, his kingdom came to an end. He lost everything, including his life. Okay, well, what does look at page 31. There it is right there. You've got the black horse with the scales. So I'm telling you very shortly, there's going to be a moment in time where many tekel avsharasim occurs. Your kingdom has come to an end, and your kingdom will be given to God's church. You've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. The financial system we know will break, and everything we know financially is going to change. That will reinstate thus the gold standard this year, and we're going to see historic monumental events. But the black horse, going back to Kent Christmas, right? What does black represent? Death. So what they have sown upon us, if you go to page 30, they shall reap.
It's going to boomerang back around.
Correct. What does Galatians 6 verse 7 state? Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man soweth, thou shall he reap. And there cannot be any more powerful time point of reaping what you have sown than in a 50-year Jubilee cycle. It's going to be crazy what's about to happen here. And I think that then, again, now going back to the prophets and lining that up either with words of prophets or lining it up with prophetic scripture, okay? Well, now we're going to line up Kim Clement with Galatians, right? What did Kim Clement state? Hypnotic November. What happens in November? Thanksgiving. Okay. So I'm just telling you, this is going to be a year like you've never seen before. People are going to be dropping on live camera.
Hmm.
It's going to be something, we could never have dreamed of or imagined, because the plan, God's plan, two things: the day and the hour is a secret. So it's really soon, but it's a secret, the day and the hour. And the
Right.
second thing is a secret is the event or the events, because God's going to catch these people completely unaware.
And that'll be that suddenly period, that 24-hour period where all of a sudden they don't have time to react.
That's exactly it. It's going to happen so quickly that they'll be caught completely unaware. And that's a prophetic word that God gave. He says, some things must remain hidden, my son, so that the enemy will be caught completely unaware. And that
Yeah.
is how this is going to play out. It's going to be great to watch. But, and also God does nothing before first speaking through the servants of prophets. So you have to understand the reason God does this, because it's going to look really crazy and horrible. Nothing, everything we grew up with to think is normal we're going to find out was a lie, right? And so it's going to be scary to a lot of people. But on the other end of it, if God speaks through his servants of prophets and tells you what's coming, then it will matter what happens, as crazy or scary it might look, just know that it's for the glory. That's the
Yeah, that's good.
importance. That is
That's good,
so
Bo. And
important to know.
this, before we move off of this slide, this is really good to go back to this Galatians 6:7, because it feels to many of us like they have gotten away with sowing all of this evil and nothing has really happened. All they've done is gotten stronger and more powerful and more money. And it's good to know that justice is coming eventually.
Well, I love that phrase, do not be deceived. Well, I love that. And the next one is even better, right? God is not mocked. So
Yes.
you got it's, and what have these people done? Okay, talk about mocking God. You don't believe. Go to go to Reawaken America tours and all the incredible work that Clay Clark is doing. Right, go to listen to what Yuval Harari, their prophet,
Mm.
and Klaus Schwab, what these people are saying. Like, you don't need a God. Like, it's just they are mocking God like you could never imagine. I just cannot believe, the Bible's there. Do these people not read this? Because these people are finished. These
Yeah.
people are finished. So it is going to be hypnotic, would be,
Mm.
what's about to happen. So I think
What a
that's a
great
great
word.
word, a great word.
Yes. Yes.
Pages 31 and 32 we've talked about, but that's basically blessings that are coming. A good friend of mine, Julie Green, it reiterates the word of what, Kent Christmas, actually Kim Clement spoke about. He will raise a simple stone, and he talks about gold. Then Julie now talks about the gold standard. Lois
Isn't she
Vogel
great?
Sharp. Yeah, she's great. I love her. Love Lois Vogel Sharp. Both are incredible prophets. Lois talks specifically about gold and silver as well, too, being God's money, and how that's going to be raised. So Lois Vogel Sharp completely is reiterating the words of Julie Green. So they are in complete agreement in terms of prophetic words. Again, so two or more witnesses is the truth. So there you go. All of this is coming to pass. 34 talks about hyperinflation. So the people it's going to be a complete financial shift. They've printed money out of thin air to infinity. So this is going to be quite the financial event that's about to go down here. And so we're going to see hyperinflation. 35 talks about 100 years market cycles that indicates every 40 years we have a crash. So this is year 40 again. So market crash is coming. And then Lois Vogel Sharp. These are her words, prophetic words from God. The collapse will be the victory needed to stop the furthering of this evil regime. And that's on page 36. So the Great Awakening is coming. And again, the words are the collapse, which we talk about, the market collapse, the dollar collapse, will be the victory needed to stop the furthering of this evil regime. So
Mm.
that is what is about to happen. We've talked about, how the gay pride thing happened. They called June Gay Pride Month. We talked about the coin. Okay, 6 months. There's two sides to a coin. 6 months. The first 6 months, January through June, and June just happened to be the last month of the first 6 months. And Pride. There was Pride Month. They removed the color. That's their their marking. That is not a flag. It's a symbol. And so Pride cometh before the fall. Proverbs 16 verse 18.
Right.
And then
How
what
perfect is
happened
that?
and I'm telling you, and there's not a coincidence, because look what happened on page 8 immediately after that. You and I, okay, Noah, you and I have been on this show. Okay, we've been on this show for 2 to 3 years. I think 2 years. We have had this Georgia Guidestone slide out for like 2 years, and everybody, because I kept saying, why are they doing all this? I said, because what do they want to do? This is their 10 Commandments. Their whole plan was, when we talked 2 years ago, Noah, or maybe 2.5 years ago, they want to depopulate. This is and has always been their agenda. They posted publicly. They want humanity at 500 million. Okay, and that would mean a destruction of 90+% of the world population. Well, what cometh before the fall? Destruction cometh. Pride cometh before destruction. Pride cometh before the fall. What happened on the 6th day of July, the first month of the next 6 months? They went down. The Georgia
They did.
Guidestones went down. And what we've talked about as well, nothing they built in the United States will stand, including much of the world too. Almost everything they built, because the godly kingdom's coming, so everything they've built upon this earth is going to be destroyed. This is strike one of what will be destroyed. That Julie Green's talked about the Statue of Liberty. There's also the White House that's going to be overturned. We're going to see the Vatican get overturned, all the tunnels and everything. So everything's going to be overturned. Everything gets exposed in this new kingdom, the new birth, in the new era. Okay, nothing they built will stand. This is just the first thing to come down. It just happened to occur in the month of July, and people, many people didn't even know what the heck the Georgia Guidestones were. But we've talked about it for years. Okay, and now we've seen, incredibly, on July 6th, the thing goes down. So, and then there's only one pillar of it went down. They, like, the next day, took it all down. Why would they do that? Wouldn't you want an investigation? Because I'm telling you, this was something, a biblical proportion that went down here. And they wanted to destroy all the evidence. So it's incredible. Page 39 talks about the destruction. This is the fall of the harlot. Everything's coming down. We've had this slide also for about a year or two now. Everything they built is coming down. The harlot is coming down. Page 40 talks about the birth. We're at June 21 was 40 weeks. So now we're in July already here. July 21 is not far away. So we are at birth of a new kingdom, a new era. Page 41 takes us to, another key important dates. Everything is just pointing to everything they've built. Page 41, 42, 43. All these people are coming down. We've talked about page 44 also, and that's about the darkness that's coming. Okay, so it's going to get dark. We've talked about that. So, so Lazarus, we've talked about how when the glory appears, everything goes dark. Do not be surprised. And then we talked about also in the past too, how we're expecting to see the return of David, the return of 45 this fall.
Love that one.
And that also lines up with the prophet Kim Clement, because what did he say? And in the fall, you will know who my David is, my chosen David. Okay, and then page 46 further talks about the covenant. And what did we read earlier about the covenant? We talked about Haggai 2, and that talks about the covenant also. Because of the covenant I have with you, I remain in your midst. Haggai 2. So God remains in our midst, whether we see him or not. Okay, we have a covenant with him because of the covenant I have with you. So we return to a covenant with God. We've already overturned Roe v. Wade. The financial system, strike number 2 is coming, and then there's going to be the fall of these evil ones as they fall and fall. So the next 6 months are going to be 180 degrees of the prior 6 months. It's going to be incredible. This year will be a year the world will never, ever forget.
And I just have to remind, let me just remind people, Bo, just one more time. I don't think I can say this enough, but stuff that I never thought I would see happen. Most people don't even know about the Georgia Guidestones, but as you said, we've been talking about it for 2 years, and then they come down. I mean, I never thought they would actually come down, and then boom, one day they're just gone. You have an explosion, and then they bulldoze them. And then you have the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Again, something that when you first started talking about that, I thought, nice idea, sounds great, but not going to happen. And then now it's gone. So this stuff does happen. and when it happens quick. If you wake up to these stories in the morning, and all of a sudden it's like your world has changed. And so we've only seen the first couple, and I think this is such a powerful time to have you on this interview, because we're going to see the even bigger stuff happening soon. And you've talked about what those are. The last part for us to talk about is what people, I probably get the most questions about this, and they're tracking with us and they say, okay, I get it, I see it. And so when that stuff comes, what do I do? And so you talked about the stock market, gold and silver, and cryptocurrencies. So I think that's a good place for us to wrap this up. And this is another spot where you told us exactly what was going to happen. I'm going to post our last video where you told us this arrow here on June 18th, and I'm going to let you explain it better than I can. But you told us exactly when everybody was saying the market's crashing and we're going to go to zero and Bitcoin's done. You said, hey, that's the bottom, and watch what happens next. That was in your private newsletter. You told us even on this show. And then sure enough, that happened. So this is another example where you've just been dead on in the past. And now I want whatever you can tell us. I know you saved some things for your subscribers on your newsletter. We understand that people pay for that service. But whatever you can tell us on this interview, I know people are dying to hear what should they do and what's coming next.
Well, like the incredible thing about these slides decks that we've had, right? We've had the Georgia Guidestones up for so long, and all of a sudden, and I knew that was going to be an important thing. I never realized that's going to be the first thing that goes down in July. But it's incredible how all of these slide decks that we've had Roe v. Wade for 2 years in our slide deck. I've talked about it over 2.5 to 3 years. I've talked about that, and now that happens as well too. So it's really incredible how all these things, God's kind of putting to piece together. I'm getting pieces from God and looking at the prophets, putting all this information together, and then all of it's unfolding. How crazy is this? We're watching all of this unfold, things that we've talked about for a few years already. So it's incredible, it's awesome. And yes, gold and silver, God talks about the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. So I'm telling you, we're in a year with the greatest financial event in human history. It's going to involve 3 things, and pay attention, please. It's going to involve silver and gold, God's money, okay? But it's also going to involve cryptocurrencies, okay? Because they've created so much money. When Goliath falls, we're going to see the complete explosion of God's money, vertical, and cryptocurrencies. Why all 3? Because as much as you and I talk, Noah, I cannot right now give you a piece of silver. As much as I might want to give you a piece of silver, I can't do it to you right now because I have to mail it to you. You see what I'm saying? So there's that delay in terms of time. So cryptocurrencies are going to be the new quick way to transact globally. And so as much as they've talked about how horrible cryptocurrencies are and they're used for child trafficking, I find these comments funny as heck, because it's like child trafficking didn't start when Bitcoin was birthed. Child trafficking has been going for 4,000, 6,000 years, since for thousands of years. Okay. And so so the media puts out a narrative and people actually believe it. Just think about that. Okay. So child trafficking started when Bitcoin was birthed. Are you kidding me? Seriously, you really believe that? So this is the nonsense that they put out for people to sit there and believe. But understand, ultimately down the road, when the beast system rises, yeah, you don't want to be involved in cryptocurrencies, but we've got the greatest financial event in human history right at the doorstep right here, right? And to not be involved in silver, gold, or cryptocurrencies, I think personally people are making a huge mistake. So anyway, so that's my 2 cents on it. Gold and silver are going to do incredibly well, especially silver. That's a prophetic thing. And then cryptocurrencies are set to do extremely well as well too. Especially, there's several things about cryptocurrency. Number one is you want to be involved in the correct cryptocurrencies. Very important. It's important to be involved in the correct cryptocurrencies, because there's thousands of them out there, and 90% will probably go to junk. Okay, but the 10% that are left are going to go to crazy prices. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're involved in good cryptocurrencies. And the second thing also is cycles. It's important to know the cycles if that's important to you. But to me, it's important because if you look at Noah, look at the cycle that we've. This is the chart from yesterday. We posted to subscribers on the 15th of July. Okay. Look at the pattern. You got points A, B, and C. We knew about the C coming down. We posted the video on your site about the crash, and everyone's going crazy because Bitcoin dropped under 20,000. They're freaking out, and it was supposed to happen. It was like a peaceful day, that was supposed to happen. And then since then, we've seen the rise into 0.1. We've seen the rise and then the pullback into point two. And now we're in July and we're progressing sideways. They're trying to hold the price down, so they're trying to suppress it. They're going to hold it, but soon enough, we're going to see a very sharp move vertical, and then we're going to see a sharp drop. Okay, so there's
Hmm.
a lot of volatility coming because they don't want it to go up, but they're not going to be able to stop it when the thing goes. Okay, it's just going to take off, but then they're going to try to hammer it back down. So there's some incredibly good opportunities to come into play some of the swings possibly. To the up to the downside, but I'm telling you, if you want to be involved in a financial shift that's going to change, the world, this is the greatest financial event in human history. Proverb, this is the wealth of the sinner stored up for the righteous. This is the third seal of revelation moment. We're about to see this. And so, the way to be involved is, if you want to, again, I'm not telling people what to do. I'm saying if you choose to be involved in the greatest financial event in human history, and if you think what Noah and I are talking about isn't crazy and it resonates with your heart, then maybe you should be involved. Maybe you should pick up some gold and silver. If you're looking to get gold and silver, go to our website. There's several dealers there that can take care of you and get you all set up. Go to our website and they'll help you get the precious metals. And those that are interested in cryptocurrencies, then get involved in cryptocurrencies. If you're looking to know which ones to buy and the cycles that they move in, then you're welcome to look at some of the look at our Bitcoin index that we talk about. But ultimately, I'm just telling you, we are at the doorstep of something incredible that's about to blow here in this world.
Yeah, that's great. And these sharp moves, sharp move up, that's exciting. Sharp move down, you get really nervous. But even when you're moving up, it can be a lot of pressure, and you can get nervous because you don't know. Is now the time I should get out? Is now the time? What should I be doing? Is it going to go up more? And that's why I like having your newsletter, because you always seem calm. You're just sitting there, and you're not too excited when it's going up, and like this June 18th date, you're not nervous when it's going down, and it's nice to have that info. So if you want that info, we have Bo always is so generous to give a discount code here. You can get a 14-day trial here. You just put in code WLT49. You're going to get that discounted trial and for 14 days, and you can. Bo puts out a newsletter every couple of days, and so you'll get several of those. You'll get to watch them, and then you'll get the full archive too. That's what I love. You can go back in and you can look at the historical newsletters and just see how accurate these have been. Everything is posted. Bo doesn't take stuff down. He leaves it up there. You can go back multiple years. So if you want to have that knowledge, that's great. And if you don't, I love this about Bo too. He comes on and does an hour-long interview with us and puts these slides out for free. And then he even tells you, he's look at this. He's not trying to hide all the details here. He tells you a sharp move up is coming, and then a sharp drop after that. So if all you want to do is like Bo said, if what we're talking about sounds not crazy to you, if it sounds like you want to get in and own some cryptocurrencies, maybe it's Bitcoin. And Bo actually has a list of some other ones that he likes even better. And if you want to get in there, then just buy some and hold it. Bo and I don't give financial advice. We just kind of talk about what we're doing. And I've been buying cryptocurrencies for a long time, and I feel good doing that, and I know Bo does that as well. And if that's you, then just if you want to just buy it and hold it, do that. So I love that he doesn't ever tell you if you want the info, you have to get my newsletter, because that's not the case. He's giving it to you right here. And Bo, we appreciate that. You're always so generous with your time and with your information when you come on our show.
Thanks, Noah. Actually, I just would want to finish off on page 26 because I think that's like a great place to finish up here. We are at this really incredible time point. Crazy's on in the world, but these people, this is great. These people are playing baseball against God. They're going to lose so bad. And like we talked about initially, right? Whatever Satan raises in terms of, oh, we're going to do this, God's going to raise a higher standard. And so everything they've done is going to crumble. They're at strike one. We're heading into strike two here. And then by the end of the year, we're going to see strike three. And then like next year and the next few years are just going to be truly awesome because the glory will have arrived. And after the glory appears on this earth, this is important. After the glory appears, everything you know to be true, everything that they've been hiding from you gets exposed. And when it gets exposed, you can't go backwards in time to unexpose it. It's like, the pill thing, blue pill, is it blue pill, red pill?
Red pill, yeah.
Yeah, once you take that pill, you can't unsee. You cannot unsee what you've seen. And that's what's coming. Once you see what has been hidden, you will not be able to unsee it. And that's going to be, in time, that'll be what's called the Great Awakening, because people are going to really wake up, because God's going to expose them. Because, as Amanda Grace said, a giant spotlight will be shone on the darkness, the deals done in the dark. So it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Noah. It's such an important time in our world, important year for the world. God is great. Everything they do, God is greater. God is creator of all things. Do these people, like God's also stated, do you not know? God's word was, do you not know how great I am? I created you before you were. So these people were created by God, and they've now gone against him. Like this is this incredible, the arrogance that these people have, and they're going to experience God, his wrath.
Yes.
It's coming.
Well, Bo, that's a great place to leave it. I love your headline. It's not your headline, it's from the Bible. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. We're going to leave it with that. There's some very exciting baseball coming up, and we can't wait to watch it. We'll have you back on soon. And we're looking forward to having another one of those celebration shows where we talk about that next domino falling. So thank you for coming on, and we'll see you next time here at the Daily Truth Report.
God bless.